Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the board meeting for the 30th of May. I'll get Ruben to open with the karakia, please.
Whakatakata hau ki te uru, whakatakata hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hia ake ana te ātakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei mauri ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Ruben. Any apologies? I see we've got a full board here today, so I haven't received any apologies. So thank you everyone for joining us. Declarations of interest. If there is any declarations of interest throughout the meeting, I will be happy to take those as we go along. Public forum. I see that we haven't got any at this stage. Any last minute things come in, Katie, for public forum this morning? No. Thank you. Deputations by appointment, same again. I haven't received any of those before the close. And presentations of petitions, we have none today. Sorry, I just realised we've gone over item 3, confirmation of previous minutes. So if they are all true and correct, I'll ask for someone to move those.
Happy to move.
Right. Okay, I saw Scott, so Andrew and Scott. So moved by Andrew, seconded by Scott. All in favour, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 Aye. That's carried, thank you. Sorry, and that now we'll move on. I see we've got Debbie online. I saw you just a moment ago.
Yes, I'm here.
Morning, Debbie. How are you? Right, so you have a report for us regarding the Banks Peninsula Libraries.
We do, yes. Just a, sorry, I'm just getting used to this. Just a report back on where we're at. It's my first report because, as you're aware, Annette's moved on. So,
well, welcome to the board, and it's great to see this report. So, I'll let you take it away and just give us well, I know we have all read it, but you can give us any updates that you may have.
I've actually got Rosie Levy here with me this morning too, just because it was my first meeting. I guess you've all read the report, so unless there's any questions or queries about that, we'll take that as read. But just got a good news story about Akaroa, in that we are now able to offer Skinny Jump to customers in Akaroa. So for those of you who aren't aware what that is, it's a program whereby it's intended to try and bridge the digital divide. So the Skinny company will give out a free modem. There's no contracts, no credit checks, and it costs $5 for 30 gig of data, and people can renew that up to 5 times within a month. So Annette Morgan, our librarian, inquired whether they could offer the service there, and Skinny checked it out, and it was able to be done technically. So that's all up and running now, and it's been really well received apparently. So it's really great to be able to offer that to one of our outlying community libraries on the peninsula, so that people can have access to those digital resources when and if they need them.
It's fantastic. No, that is a good news story, and it's great to have recognition that it is quite a lot harder for some of our rural communities to be able to link in at times. So no, that's fantastic news. I did have a question regarding Little River. I will come to the board's questions in a second, Nigel. Just regarding Little River, I noticed that we have lost our librarian. Our wonderful Catherine has gone back into Horswell. But what does that mean for the service for the library in Little River?
Well, Catherine was actually always employed as a customer services staff member, and we've just been really fortunate, I guess, that she came from a library background, and she's done wonders in that library over the years, building it up to what it is now. So what we have done in the interim, because customer services is in the last throes, I understand, of recruiting for a permanent replacement to that role, until such time as that person is appointed and has had their minimal library training, we've doubled the number of library staff hours in there so that they're kind of equally spread across the week to help when customers come in if they need help with anything. Customer services staff are sort of fine dealing with financial transactions and the basic issuing and returning. We are also, so that's just sort of temporary until such time as that person's recruited. We understand that recruitment is in the last phase, and they've actually appointed a local person, which is great. So I understand from talking to the library people that work there that Catherine is sorely missed, not just for her library expertise, but just the fact that she's a local, so people can, chat to her about things. So we've also put in place a fingertip library so that should the customer services person get some really gnarly reference question or something that they're not able to answer, we can put them through to the fingertip library and they are able to advise, depending on what the query is, as they do for all of our libraries. They're there, to help when we need it, to back up staff as well as to help customers. So we're hoping that there's not any ill effects for customers in the meantime. I think we've done our best to sort of make sure that everything's covered and that we are supporting our customer service colleagues.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic to have the service, and I have to admit, Catherine has been a great asset to the libraries. I mean, she put my family onto some wonderful books, and my children just can't get their noses out of it. So that's great for long life readers, and having those library staff that have got that passion for the library has certainly been a wonderful asset to the area. And as you can see from the numbers of library memberships that have gone up in the area, purely on that, it's just been great. So it's good to have some service continued with the library side of things, because I think it is valuable for our communities, and we notice that throughout the city as well. But no, I'm pleased to hear that there's another local coming in, and it'll be great to have them trained up in the library side as well as the customer service side.
Yes.
Now, I did have a couple of questions from the board. So I've got Nigel, then I've got Andrew.
Yeah, I think you asked a question that I was going to ask about the service rolling out into Little River, but also Littleton. Should it be available in Littleton as well? It's a great thing that's to see improvements in the levels of service anywhere, but it would be good to know that they were right across the board if that was going to be the case.
Sorry, what was wrong?
Well, the skinny program.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it is available in Linwood, which is quite close, but we could certainly make inquiries. It does depend on whether they've got the capacity, skinny. Right. And I understand that, like a lot of other things, there's a supply and demand issue at the moment with modems, that they're constantly running out of them just because of the issues in the supply chain. But I can certainly look into that for you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Good news.
Thanks, Debbie, and thanks, Nigel, for the question. Andrew, you've got a question.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to drill a little bit deeper into Little River, if I can, please. And talking about improvements in levels of service, we've been very fortunate to have Catherine there in Little River, and I think it's appropriate that we should acknowledge, clearly what has been a very high level of service and good customer interaction and customer service that Catherine has delivered. Yes, we've been fortunate to have her, but there's a level of service that library users obviously have been used to, which has been offered, that it seems as though we're now, planning not to deliver to that same level of service. So what would a customer experience differently with the new arrangements once the staff member is in place and trained, versus what they were experiencing when Catherine was in place? What would the difference be? And I'm not interested in, the levels of service as they're set out in the long-term plan or any of that. I'm interested in the customer experience on the ground, what they were experiencing with Catherine there, and what they're going to experience under the new arrangements.
I think probably the major difference would be that because Catherine had that higher level of library training, which a customer service staff member wouldn't have, that she would have been able to readily answer, the more tricky questions that somebody might come in with, say a family history or perhaps a more complicated question, whereas now that would possibly need to be referred, like the customer service person could ring through to Fingertip, get the answer and relay that back to the customer. So it would just be not direct but indirect. And the other thing that we can put in place, which we have in all libraries, is a service that we call Book a Librarian. So for something that's going to take a little bit more time, something that's a little bit more in-depth or a gnarly reference question, we can make a time for that person to come back, and someone from, say, Littleton could meet with that customer to go through that question with a half-hour time slot. So that's always been available, but should, in the very unlikely event that the Fingertip service wasn't able to answer that, then we would be able to offer that as well, which we do in all libraries.
And the Fingertip library is open at all of the times that the Little River library is open?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And then my next question, and again, it's around levels of service. We've got this environment where we've got the self-issue machine coming in July.
Yes.
So there's going to be a gap between the full service that Catherine was offering and the self-issues machine coming in. Do you see any issue there, or the new customer service person, they'll be able to do all the issuing anyway in the absence of the self-issues machine?
They will. It's a very straightforward process, and at the moment we've got, with the extra library staff that we've put in, we've basically got a library person there every second day. So should someone come in when there's a library staff member there, they can help them with that. But the customer service people have been trained in that, just that very basic issues and returns, which is a very straightforward process. So there won't be any change in that.
All right. So given, people have been used to Catherine and the service that she's been offering, obviously, the policy around the role of the customer service people and the more basic library training that they get. Do you believe that the situation going forward and the slightly more limited or maybe cumbersome service going forward will meet customer expectations in Little River? Or do you think a more ideal situation would be for the customer service person to receive a greater degree of library training than maybe some other customer service people around the city, due to the expectations that have been raised in Little River with the service that Catherine's been offering? Because, I think the board would have an interest in making sure that customer expectations are met. And, some of what you've described with the Fingertip library or the bringing in a librarian from outside, yes, it means the service can be offered, but it's a more cumbersome way, I guess, for want of a better expression, of offering that service. The alternative would be to train the new customer service person up to a greater degree to continue to meet customer expectations. I'm just interested in your view on that, realizing that there are some, policy issues sitting behind it, but they're policy issues that the board could have a go at challenging if we wanted to.
I mean, in terms of, I can't really answer for that because it's a different part of council, but I'm going to hand over to Rosie here, who has got more experience and might be able to answer your question a little bit better than I can.
Excellent. I'm deliberately probing because if there's an outcome that we can get that's better than the one that's been described, I'm keen that we do what we can to get to it.
Okay, thank you.
Kia ora, councillor. Kia ora, everyone. Again, I am the manager of the community libraries, and for which Banks Peninsula is sitting in. We have been working really closely with our customer services team to make sure that in the transition period that we can help support our customer services reps. So as you say, there is quite a lot of staff coming in and out, and so we're making sure that they have the support with the doubling up of our libraries team coming in. But also at this stage, Catherine left May the 9th, and we've had in place the supports that we've had so far. At this point in time, we have been getting from our customer services colleagues that there is definitely a missing of Catherine in this space. But in regards to the services that are offered, we haven't had any other concerns as of yet around the actual service that libraries are offering at this point in time. But we are working closely with them to make sure that they have the support that they need. I will say Catherine was a star, I will acknowledge that, and we went in and luckily we have been able to hold her in the organisation. So she sits out at Te Hāpua as a library staff member, and I've been and visited her last week to just check in and see how she is. Actually, Debbie is actually one of her team leaders, so we do have a standard that we're really wanting to make sure that our Banks Peninsula community is able to get that standard that is offered everywhere else. Debbie also hails from Diamond Harbour, so she's a Banks Peninsula girl at heart and the best fit, so we're so thrilled to have her on board. So she will be working really hard to make sure that we are placing the best interest for our community in Little River, in Littleton, in Akaroa, in Diamond Harbour. So yeah, I just rest assured we are working really hard to make sure that we have in place a standard that would be acceptable to the Little River community at that point, at that service point.
Excellent. Thank you for the answer. And you'll continue to monitor that for any customer feedback or any issues that come up as we move forward.
Yes, we
Absolutely.
Will. Great. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew, for the question, and we appreciate Debbie, your response, and you both for the response. Any further questions for the team? Like I say, thank you, Debbie. It is great to have the update and keeping us in the loop with what is going on around our libraries. And like I say, it is a treasured asset through all of our communities. Like I say, I know from personal experience, my children and family do love going down to the library and checking out yet more books, which I've got to take back in the next couple of days.
That's really that's really great to hear. Thank you.
No, that's good. Okay, we have got a recommendation to receive the information on the Banks Peninsula Libraries report. Do I have a mover, please?
Happy to move.
Thanks, Ruben, and seconded by Nigel. So moved by Ruben, seconded by Nigel. All those in favour?
Aye.
Right. That's carried. Thank you, and thank you, Debbie, for coming along today and sharing with us. Like I say, some wonderful news, and it's good to be kept in the loop with what is happening around the area. So no, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Right. Next up, we have Robin. I see you're on our call this morning. Good morning, Robin.
Kia ora tātou.
I will DRF. So I'll let you carry on with the conversation.
Sure. So Wainui Residents Association are wanting to put in 5 picnic tables for summer. There are some picnic tables at one end of the beach, but they're hoping by spreading that load out, that as it packs up over summer, that they'll get better usage and better spread of people who are using the beach over summer. So they have put in a request for 2,450. They've been working with the roading team as far as getting permission to be on the land and placement of those. So they'd be working with Andrew Hensley about that. Staff are comfortable with that. And my recommendation would be for the board to support that project with $2,000. Happy to answer any questions.
Now, do we have questions? So Nigel.
Yep. Yeah, hi, Robin.
Hi.
Is that how much of that is the 2,400 is of the total cost? What's the total cost of this?
4,202.
Right, and they're comfortable with 2,004?
Yeah, so they're doing they're putting in some sponsorship and fundraising also. So I've recommended 47%. They've requested 58%.
I'm totally supportive. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, Tyrone?
Not so much a question, but just a general comment. Like, another good example, community group wants to do something, we're able to help, we can make it happen, and it happens. So, you know, the more we can do of this kind of thing, the better. That's a real, you know, I just love it, you know, when these things come together.
Okay, Ruben.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see it here, but I know there usually is in these applications, but has there been any consultation with mana whenua, with local iwi, just around the positioning of and whether that presents any issues?
Or that's a good question. I know when I spoke with Andrew that this has been raised with other projects, and from memory, he felt that wasn't an issue for this, but I can follow that up.
Yeah, that just with the Puro situation would be good to, with the toilets there.
Thanks, Ruben. Nigel.
Yeah, just a comment on that, because I'm actually, it's my zone. I don't think there is, I think the difference between Puro and Wainui is quite distinctively different from, I guess, an Anuku perspective, but there wasn't a lot of activity there. But yeah, I think by all means, getting a question out to Rick or a representative from Anuku would be the right thing to do.
Okay, any further questions for Robin? No, okay, we've got recommendations on the table. So recommendation currently sits at approve the grant for $2,000 from the discretionary response fund to the Wainui Residents Association towards Wainui picnic tables. Can I get a mover for that? Happy to move, Nigel, and seconded by Scott. So it's moved by Nigel, seconded by Scott. All those in favour? Say aye. Aye, that's everyone. And that's carried. Thank you, Robin. Okay.
Doesn't mean they'll only give one, but that's what I was going to recommend.
Sorry, is it Andrea? Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Tori. I should be on mute. Please accept my apologies.
No, it's okay. No, it's all good. Okay, no, that is fine. That one was carried. So thank you, Robin. And now we've gone on to item 9. So it's been quite a short board meeting today. So we're already at elected members exchange. So I'll just write a wee note as to what order I've got everybody in. So
Excuse me, Madam. Yeah, I just want to apologise for having my video off, but for some reason my video is absolutely sapping my power. Like, so yeah, and it seems to, sorry.
Now, Katie, what do we do in that with the board member not able to use the video? They're still counted as present even though their video is off because of capabilities. If that makes sense.
I can pop in and out without my video, but it seems to be just sucking it up as soon as I turn it on.
Yeah, and I think there is provisions there, Scott, for when video capabilities are not as flash, you can be still counted as present in the board meeting, even with your video off. So does that make sense, Katie?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so thanks, Scott. Thanks for letting us know. But okay, I'll just write a list of who's going first. So I've got Nigel, Jamie, Ruben, Andrew, Tyrone, Scott, Howard. Okay, so Nigel, you want to kick things off?
Yes, I will.
Members exchange.
Right. Last meeting we had a submission from the Friends of Robinson's Bay, and they wanted us to, I guess, move a resolution that we support the project that's going on in Robinson's Bay with regards to the reserve being established. I believe there are some complications around that, and but we didn't really sort of come up with a clear answer around it. I would like somehow to maybe show our support, and I just look for ideas of how that might happen. Maybe a resolution to ask staff to work with the Friends of Robinson's Bay to establish the boundaries and the gifting of that piece of land. What is your feelings?
From my understanding, Nigel, we are having more information come to us regarding that specific topic. So once we've got more information coming to us, then we can certainly recommend more in assisting the community with what their aspirations are. But I think we were waiting for, our next step was waiting for information from staff regarding what they'd raised already.
Okay.
Penelope or Katie, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, Tori. And the board can't make a resolution or a decision unless it has a report in front of it. So
yep. We're still waiting for more information from staff. Is that correct?
No,
from what has already been raised?
Not long as we have I guess a commentary around that. I mean, it is what it is. I think that it's good to have that feedback coming back through so we can do something.
Yep. And that's still being worked on from what I understand. So yep.
Right.
Yep. Next time.
Takapaniki, blessing of the Po is happening on Matariki. It's going to be a huge day over here in Akaroa. There's going to be a function in the morning with the blessing, which is an invite only. There's going to be a lunchtime public presentation on the site with a follow-up in the Gaiety in the afternoon, and that'll be the formal part out of the way, and then there'll be a night market and a hangi down at the Grand and the Madeiras. So it's going to be a huge day, and it's going to be a fantastic situation. We've actually got this far with Takapaniki. I guess a question I have, and I would like if we could get some discussion and some understanding from staff as to the governance going forward, and as a co-governance model as an RMC. It's quite unique, I guess, from the way I see it locally. And at the moment, the co-governance is clearly between the council and Anuku Runanga. But if it gets to be adopted as a national reserve or gets national recognition, I believe that co-governance model will change. I'd just like to get some sort of feedback as to what that might look like, and maybe what the current one looks like as well, so as we go into the next 3 years. What's any discussion on that?
Ken, how do we treat that going forward? Is it just a wait and see, or how does that work?
I'm not fully au fait with what it is exactly that you're asking, Nigel. There is currently a co-governance model between the council and and Onuku. So what are you suggesting about if it would change when there was a?
Well, it would have to change, because I think the reserve team are involved with the co-governance at the moment. I just wondered what that would look like if it did go to and I guess gifted over to a national environment or taken up by a national parks situation. You know, become a government entity rather than a council entity at that point, I believe. I would just like some information back so we can understand it, I would have thought.
Well, okay. Well, it sounds like we need to ask for some information about this. I'm not aware.
Maybe Russell.
I'm not across Russell. That. Sure. Yeah. I know the staff involved, but I haven't been involved in that level of detail.
So there is an aspiration around creating a national reserve at Takapuniki. There's some work been done by senior park staff, so I'm aware that there has been some correspondence on the matter. It really sits with the Minister of Conservation, and those conversations are yet to start in earnest. And obviously exactly what governance arrangements would look like in that context will be a part of that discussion. So early days, but I agree it would be good for the board to have an update on what has occurred and what thinking there has been already, what the aspiration is, and then maybe setting up a framework for the board to continue to be involved, or at least to be updated as the conversation progresses.
Well put, Andrew. I'll miss you.
Yeah, well, let's ask staff for an update around that then. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Nigel. Yep. Anything else?
Yep. Got one more.
No, all good.
Never a dull moment with me. I just really want to have a bit of a discussion around the devotional wastewater situation. The hearing is coming up. I guess, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, Tori, but I just really wonder how the hearing panel is made up, and why wouldn't there be an elected member from the affected area? I just would, I think, for a start, I mean, it's good that you were there, but I just think you're the only one, and I just wondered whether or not there shouldn't have been someone there from the elected member from the area concerned.
So
I don't necessarily expect an answer to that, but I just wonder how these hearing boards are made up.
So Nigel, I can at least fill in a couple of blanks there. So the hearings panel and the delegation to establish those hearing panels sit with separate council staff. So under the council support team in the legal and democratic services unit. So they have the delegation there to appoint members to the hearing panels.
Okay.
So with respect to those appointments, that's a question that is outside of our
Outside
unit.
the scope of this question. Okay, I didn't really expect it to be answered. I just felt it was a bit unusual. But then maybe it's not unusual.
And also to add to that, Nigel, from some of the rationale is that 3 members from the Akaroa wastewater hearing panel are being taken forward to the Devotionals wastewater hearing panel, purely to give continuity, but also to give understanding, because we've already gone through a lot of that information prior. So that's my understanding why 3 members from the previous panel got asked to participate in the upcoming hearing panel for the Devotionals wastewater. So that's my understanding as well. So I'm not sure why the 3 that got selected, but that was what I got told.
It's okay. It's all right. We'll move on. Then on the basis of this going forward, I would like to suggest that, and I'd like some discussion around this, that we make a submission to that hearing panel from the board, community board. Would that be appropriate? And could that happen?
I think that's being discussed this afternoon. So yes, from what I understand, there is going to be a submission formed from the community board to go to the hearing panel.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Nigel. Okay, next up, I've got Jamie. You're still in the room, so Jamie, we'll grab you while you've got 2 seconds spare. Any update from Members Exchange? Hang on, you're on mute.
Take my phone off mute. There we go. Nothing being brought to my attention. The hottest topic that people have, I guess, been talking about when they come to see me are the cruise ships and buses. So I guess this continues, and I know we've seen letters from Victoria, etc., and I know that the staff are all over it, and I think we need to be able to give confidence to the community that this is being worked on, and that plans will be in place, even though we don't know exactly what those plans are as yet. I saw a little note from Michael de Hamel today, quoting a number which is probably a little bit worrying if it's accurate, of 20% of cruise ship passengers jumping on buses historically and coming to Akaroa. If that number's right, that's a pretty crunchy number, which would mean there's quite a few buses. I'm not sure how accurate that is going forward, but I think it would be good to just get some updates. I know Andrew is working on it, trying to get numbers, but I guess it is an issue that the community are aware of, and we need to just keep communication coming about what's going to happen and where it's going to happen. That's really my only thing to bring to the table today. Thank you.
No, thanks, Jamie. And from my understanding, yes, we are going to get semi-regular updates regarding cruise ships and what is happening in light of what has happened in the past. As many updates as we can physically get in have been requested of staff when they have got more information to give us, when more numbers are known. So I'm aware that Andrew Hensley is wanting to keep us updated and fairly regularly. So hopefully the more information we can get, the more information we can get to the community, and so on, because when people only get part information, it's really easy to make up, fill in the blanks basically. So that's been my request through, and I think we're going to continue advocating that more information gets fed down to the community, just so we all have a better understanding of what this is going to look like. So thanks, Jamie, appreciate
and of course that's not to take the issue away from Littleton either, of course, where there's still a lot of decisions to be made around how those people get into the city and making sure that that local community is able to get the benefit from those people as well. So I'm sure there's a lot of worried businesses over there that are thinking, well, it's not far away now, and what do we do? You know, we're going to have to start ordering food soon for these guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. No, appreciate it. Right, so the next one I've got is Ruben.
Thanks, Tori. First up, I just checking in on the Tauhino, I'll go again, Tauhinu Korokio Reserve, which is the one above Littleton that is part dock with the council reserve border, and that was the one that resident had raised some concerns around. And I know, Liz, we talked, and I forwarded an email through and a presentation from that resident about, with some photographic evidence of some of the issues. I just wondered if there'd been any progress on that.
So my understanding is that's still sitting with staff, Ruben, and I think if my memory is correct, Liz was reaching out to see about that dual dock council kind of collaboration with respect to her ownership of that reserve. So I think it's still sitting with staff, but we can certainly ask for an update.
Yeah, that'd be great. Then the other one was just to check in and see, the rest are really just kind of questions or check-ins around. There's certainly been a perception, whether it's reality or not, that there's been an increase in sort of petty crime and car thefts and prowlers and things in and around Littleton specifically. And I just wondered whether we had a catch up with the newly appointed police constable, I think I'm using the right word, scheduled at some point, whether we would do a briefing in that department.
I will have to check our briefing schedule to see if we have anything for the rest of the year, but it's I'm not aware of that being scheduled.
Yeah.
So
it would be great, because
I can get back to you on that, Ruben.
Yeah, so we usually do those every 6 months, and I know we had the Littleton police in, well, certainly within the last 6 months, not too long ago. But we could follow up and ask about your that perception specifically. Yeah. We could just ask a question about that. But we wouldn't normally be doing it. We'd normally only do an update twice a year.
Yeah.
In person. Yeah.
And then the final one really was around the Reserve Management Committee meetings, where they're at with, because they'll be coming towards June and July will be the last 2 months that they're eligible to have meetings. Am I right?
Yeah. So the Reserve Management Committees have been meeting again since we transitioned into that orange traffic setting. So their meetings are progressing in person currently.
Right.
But that's really only resumed in the last 4 weeks or so.
Yeah.
But they're not, hang on, but so Ruben, the RMCs, they are in place until 3 months after the board elections. So they can, they will meet right through, even when you're not meeting.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. That's me.
Thanks, Ruben. Appreciate the update. Any questions? Andrew?
Just a couple of things from me. I was going to talk about the Matariki events at Takapunaki, but Nigel has done an excellent job of doing that already. I look forward to attending, and I think that will be an excellent event, which will be a real celebration of how far this project has come in recent years. I drove past the top of there the other day, and the landscaping work that's been done, the implementation of the reserve management plan and the installation of the Pōwhenua are all looking amazing. So I think, this is history in the making, and it's going to be history in the making and history being well recognised and respected. So I think that will be an excellent event. And I think the first Matariki public holiday is a very poignant time for that to be occurring. So I'm certainly looking forward to being part of that. And then the only other thing for me to do really is to give an update on annual plan discussions. There was a public briefing the other day that was live streamed, and I'm pleased to be able to report back to the board that there have been positive moves on both the additional funding for the Governor's Bay Jetty and the additional funding that was requested by Onuku Runanga for the Takapuniki development. So there are a couple of highlights for this board. Of course, nothing's done until it's done, and decision making doesn't occur until the third week in June. But it's good to see some positive movements through the informal discussions and the guidance that's been given on those two projects, among others, at this time. So really just by way of an update, but let's keep an eye on that as we move through the decision-making process.
Thank you, Andrew, and it's good to hear that these projects are being taken forward and supported by the council. So thank you. Next on my list, I have Tyrone.
Kia ora. So the Littleton Reserves Management Committee, so the one that looks after the rec, so the sports ground, so meeting for that last Monday, and Christine Bowe, who's obviously project managing the Naval Point development, of which the rec falls within that development, came along and presented and had a discussion with the committee. So what really came out of that, and Christine does a great job, and it's been she's been communicative all the way along, but there's a real sense of frustration from the stakeholders there around the sports ground and the future for it, and when a thing's going to happen and exactly what is going to happen. So I think there's kind of a disconnect has kind of evolved, I would say, and I think it's really important that we get really clear on what the stakeholders of the rec can expect as this process sort of progresses. So there's just a bit of concern from me, really, just around how that's kind of evolving, like just in terms of solid dates and like when can we expect things to happen. And this is not a criticism of staff at all. Like it's more about the frustration. It's quite a big and complex, incredibly complex process, and sometimes I think people just kind of don't get carried along all the way, especially when it's like such an important community asset. So we just want to just get some clarity for the committee there and the different stakeholders, and sort of all tied up in this. Like there's that ongoing conversation around dog walk. There's the dog, we'll call them, for the want of a better term, the dog walking community. And this board over a number of years has tried to find a solution in Littleton and other parts of the peninsula around where can people walk dogs. We haven't really got anywhere. It's almost like that conversation's come full circle back to, well, perhaps the Littleton Rec is the place where that can happen. So I don't know, like I just feel like I just really hope we just don't squander all of these opportunities that we've got to make these things all sort of fit nicely together and get a really good community outcome. So I'm just really raising my concerns there that we'll go through all this process, and at the end of it, everyone will be like a little bit pissed off because that's not what we want. We want everybody to be ecstatically happy by the whole process there. Anyway, So that's that. Also, the whakaora project is moving into its planning cycle for the next 3 years. So caught up with the community advisory group last week and just planning out the priorities over the next period of time. You know, stuff, all the initiatives like the plantings at Steadfast and the predator-free work that's been going on, which has been really, really successful and it's great, and we need to support that. Pest management plans and, you know, students doing stuff. So they're workshopping that stuff today, concurrently with this board meeting actually. And so that's just a good project, and, you know, that's got a good way forward, and it's, you know, going to have, we've already seen the impacts on whakaraopo, and yep, so hopefully onwards and upwards with that. That's me. Cheers.
Thanks, Tyrone. Appreciate the update. Scott, are you still with us? Got an update for us?
Sure am. Not a lot to update. It's getting a bit colder, a bit icier on the roads. I've been working in Littleton lately, and every day we see a new vehicle off the side of the roads, which is, yeah, a bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. There was a good community-based outcome with next to the school on Hunters Road, 2 private properties were discharging sediment onto the footpath next to the school, and there'd been 11 snaps and solves and nothing had been done about it over 2 weeks. So I rang up, and within an hour they had a Folden Hogan crew out there, cleaned it up and put a culvert under the road. It's a shame it took a kid to fall over and get a fractured elbow for that to happen. But the community was pretty impressed at how quickly it got sorted out when some action was taken, which was quite good. Now, with obviously, as you know, I'm sort of helping the community with the Godly House site, and we've had a landscape assessment done by some professionals, and they've raised quite a few concerns about some of the trees lower down on the reserve. So I was just wondering if I could raise that concern with some CCC staff, whether or not Parks can get in contact and we have a chat to them about it, or I'm not sure how to go forward with that one.
Would that be through the RMC, Scott? Is the RMC being made aware of that, and then that information?
Yeah, they have.
The RMC?
And the RMC said, well, it's an ongoing issue, and if we've actually got a professional involved and they've done a report, then we're probably better off to raise it without the RMC.
Directly.
But yeah, so because they have raised it there, and they're ongoing with Parks and with CCC, and there's, you know, watling pines and old eucalyptus that are getting removed every month around the tracks and that, but this is a completely separate issue to do with the reserve. So I'm not sure. So
Katie or Pen, how do we get that information through to Parks staff? Obviously, the RMC are aware of it. How do we get that information through to the Parks team sooner rather than later, I guess, because it's about the time of year where arborists are in the area dealing with other things.
Yeah, so, there's also a fair bit of loose rock and that has been identified. I mean, I haven't heard of any issues of rock coming down there, but you go and have a look at it, and you look at them and you think, shit, they're the size, you know, half the size of a car.
So my thought, Scott, would be, if you've got the report, could you send it on to our staff, and our staff forward it onto Park staff as soon as possible, so that Park staff can get it in their hands, i.e. to Paul Devlin and team, and get the right people on the job sooner rather than later. Katie, how does that work?
Can I just butt in there and just say, I probably, there's a fair bit of information here, and it's quite sensitive to the Godly House proposal, and the team that I'm working with, they're happy. I'd be happy to give it to Paul or whatever, but I don't really want to send it into the clutches of the council.
Okay, Katie. How about taking that offline and catch up with Katie on the side and seeing what we're going to do?
No, that's cool. I'll do that.
Katie, does that work for you?
Yeah, because we can request some information from the park staff. Do you know offhand, Scott, are these trees, are they diseased or sick? Because the delegations will differ between.
So some of the eucalyptus are basically just that they're used by date. So they're starting to drop branches, and sooner or later the trees will just get hollowed out. That's basically what the report says. And the watling pines are unstable and are surrounded with that loose rock. So
Okay.
I mean, I'll be seeing Paul Devlin on Wednesday, whether or not I just bring it up with him directly.
Yeah, and we can put a request into staff for additional information if there's some concerns around the safety.
Yeah, or just someone to contact us and we can provide them with the report and meet them on site.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. Thank you. That's it from me.
That's you, Scott. Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you. And we've got Howard. Any updates from you, Howard? Mute. The good old Zoom mute button.
I've just done all the highlights and all the big bit when I was on mute. Oh well. Just before Scotty runs away, hey, look, are you talking about the culvert down Hunters Road below the school that unfortunately only run about 10 metres and is overgrown above it and below it?
It's not the culvert. It's there's a bit of a catchment on the boundary property between number 7 and number 5. And I've talked to both residents, and you know they're saying it's each other's responsibility because it's right on the boundary. So it comes down onto the load and just leaches onto that path, which at the moment doesn't see any sun, so then it becomes slippery and icy. And
I saw the culvert cut there, and I was surprised that it only cut it 10 metres. I would have thought they'd cut it all the way down the road at least, so the water has somewhere to run off.
Well, basically, I was happy with what they've done because that's a temporary solution until they design a proper.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, that'll get us through the next month. So I was pretty impressed with them and their communication. They rung me up. They got straight back to me with photos. Asked if the community was happy. It was really, really good and surprising. So.
Yeah, it's more that there was only 10 metres and it was overgrown above it and overgrown below it. I would have thought that would go all the way down, but I'm not a hydraulics engineer or anything. The only run, most things are pretty heavy because of winter. The only thing is really infrastructure on Marine Drive. I know this is not going to get anywhere, but I'll keep bringing it up because I think it's pretty poor. I've been walking from my place down to the dairy. And walking down Marine Drive is Marine Drive is extremely dangerous. You've got no footpaths. You have to go around blind corners with absolutely no protection. And any kid coming from below the school has to walk on that road to get to the school without any footpaths, whereas above the school there's at least a few footpaths. So I'd like the council to start actually looking at a bit of more infrastructure around here, a bit more footpaths would be great. So I don't expect anything to happen, but I'm going to keep bringing it up and keep hitting it because it's important. So that's about all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing, Howard. I'll just say that taking it along with these things, it's painfully slow at times, but just bringing it up with, health and safety concerns, it does need to be looked at. I mean, and especially with Diamond Harbour, population increasing in certain areas that perhaps we need to look at better safety improvements of what we can do. So, I appreciate bringing forward.
The cars aren't going slow. I'd also actually like to know what happened to the council report regarding the walking or the road area around the head-to-head walkway from around that S-bend around Marine Drive from Anderson Bay Road or between Anderson Bay Road and the other thing. We were going to get a report on it. Okay. On the tight S-bends around there. They were going to come out and give a report and give us a report on what was going to be done.
Report, yeah.
Okay, so Katie, can we get an update on that one? Because I know Andrew was going to have a look at it and see what safety improvements could be done sooner rather than later, rather than waiting for head-to-head walkway. Could we just put that as a request to get some information back?
Yep, I can check the action. I think it's still outstanding, but there's a memo in the system, I believe, so we can see how that's progressing and get back to you.
Thanks, Katie.
Just to add on to that, the fencing from Audenbradley Park to Anderson's Bay Road has been carried out from Audenbradley Park. It's up and running and people are actually using that. So they're getting to Anderson's Road and they're actually walking around the seabed there now, or foreshore.
Okay. Thanks, Scott, for the update, and thank you, Howard. Okay, just one last thing from me. I've got two wee things. One is, after the last board meeting, I was with Environment Canterbury for a meeting regarding the Birdlings Flat septic tank discharge, meeting there is more information to be had. It's just the start of the conversation. This is going to be ongoing, but we have found out that ECAN will contact directly the landowners involved that lose their consent to discharge as of 1st of June, which is only a day away. They'll be contacted directly by ECAN, and at this stage, from the sounds of things, there's no penalties for not having a current consent to discharge because we are working through it. So that's going to take time and more meetings, and hopefully we'll have a community update for that one shortly. And the other one is good to hear we've got staff on site down in Little River at the moment regarding the dog exercise area. So there is park staff and governance team down having a look at the dog exercise area and what the next steps are in place for or look like for that project. So it's great to hear that these things are ticking along, when it's a bit of a wet mucky day, but it's great to hear that these are going on. So they're my 2 updates for now. Sorry. I have got sick children in the background and a dog trying to cause havoc. So I really do apologise. Ruben, can I get you to close the meeting, please, with the closing karakia?
Sure. Kia whakairia te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia tūriki whakataha ai, kia tūriki whakataha ai, haumie huie tāki.